So Robert Stark and Matt P and I we're absolutely on pins and needles at the moment, waiting to see if our documentary Supply, with triple parentheses, will get into Sundance. Either way, we've already booked our chalet in Park City, Utah, see our friend Robert Redford and go hang out with our peers in the power elite of Hollywood. We love a good independent film festival. Okay, of course, I'm completely making it up, but I do know people who go to things like Sundance. Okay, I know people who take exotic vacations. I know people who know Robert Redford and Steven Spielberg and David Geffen and Barry Diller and that crowd. So, how do you reward yourself? Do you allow yourself to enjoy life? I think that's just a great question. It's kind of a painful question for someone like me who's grew up with a lot of masochistic tendencies. How do you reward yourself when you meet a goal? Do you allow yourself to enjoy life? Do you feel like you deserve the good things of life? A lot of people don't. And I notice of the high achievers that I know, they're not afraid to enjoy life. And the people who are really hard on themselves and don't allow themselves to enjoy life and only give themselves the most meager of treats, they're all chronic under-earners. So I notice that people who are kind to themselves, much more likely to be kind to other people. People who are mean and harsh to themselves, much more likely to be mean and harsh to, oh Jesus, almost saw a collision happen in front of me. Much more likely to be mean and harsh to others. I remember I was about 10 years of age. I was at the Point at Avondale College, and it was by Dora Creek. It's down the hill from my home. It was a hot day. We'd been swimming, and now we were basking in the sun on a rock. And this woman we didn't know, but she was offering us ice cream, and I said no. And I love ice cream. It was a hot day, but I said no because I didn't feel worthy of ice cream. And I really wanted the ice cream, but I just wasn't comfortable with being kind to myself. That's something my therapist often said to me. Why don't you be kind to yourself? Why don't you try being a good friend to yourself? One of the things I can do to be a good friend to myself is put on my bloody glasses. Wow, so much easier to see at night when I got my glasses on. But it's taken me a long time to very awkwardly move into being kind to myself. So do you allow yourself to enjoy life? Is that a struggle for you? I remember I had my first girlfriend. We'd been together kind of for about a year. So I'd met her the summer of 1982. So it was the summer of 1983. I think it was June 1983. And I was walking with her, and we walked across a stream. And then on the other side of the stream, I grabbed her, took her in my arms, and I kissed her on the lips for the first time. And we made out for the first time. And when we finally came up for air and caught our breath, she said, we could have been doing this a year ago. But guess what? I didn't feel like I deserved to enjoy life. So there are all sorts of pleasurable activities that I only began doing in my junior year in high school. And had a lot of deprivation in my relationships with women, or didn't even ask out all sorts of women because deep inside I just had this feeling that I did not deserve to enjoy life. And you can't fool yourself. You can't just psych yourself up into making it okay to enjoy life. You have to develop self-respect. I think that's probably the first thing, and then self-regard, and then self-like, and then I could kind of accept yourself, the whole package, to be able to enjoy life. One thing that happens when you join a 12-step program often is that you start sleeping better. And why do you start sleeping better? Because you admit you've got a problem. Okay, let's say you're a sex addict. You admit you're a sex addict. Let's say you're an alcoholic. You admit you're an alcoholic, or you admit that you're willing to look at the possibility that you might be a chronic debtor, a chronic underearner, a chronic porn hound, a chronic love addict, a chronic excitement junkie. You become just willing to admit it, to look at it. Like, you become willing to just okay, I'll go to a few meetings. And it's such a burden off your back. The first time I went to Debtors Anonymous, and I just let go of this huge burden. I've been carrying around $50,000 plus in credit card debt for years, unable to reduce it through my own efforts, feeling pretty hopeless much of the time, and burdened all of the time. Like, that debt, that was a weight on me. Okay, that was a major weight on me. That was really crimped my style. I could never be free of it. Just the sense that I had all this credit card debt, how it was strangling me. And then I went to my first Debtors Anonymous meeting, and it's like, there are lots of other people with this problem that I have, and lots of them have found complete recovery. They're happy, healthy, and free and joyous now. They're leading good, productive lives. They've gotten married. They're thriving in their careers. And I can too. And there's a path ahead, and I can walk it. I've been in other 12-step programs. I know this works. There are tools. There's a community. There are meetings. There are 12 steps. There's sponsorship. There's literature. There's God. And it's like, whew, what a relief. You just kind of let go of this enormous burden that I've been carrying around on and off for 20 years. And I just felt so happy. And my therapist immediately noticed this dramatic change in my body language and the way I spoke and the way I was thinking, just the whole way I carried myself. Come on, mate, let's get going. Bloody hell. And so I'd been in therapy for about 10 years at this point. Therapy didn't help me get out of $50,000 credit card debt. I mean, who knows how screwed up I would have been without therapy, okay? So I'm not denigrating therapy, I'm just saying I needed this 12-step program. And so there's Debtors Anonymous, which is about tracking your money. You write down all the money that comes in and all the money that you spend. So you're very precise. Debting is a disease of vagueness. Underachieving is a disease of vagueness. Underearners Anonymous focuses on how do you spend your time. You track your time. You write out your vision. You create benchmarks to measure your progress, and you reward achievement. And that's not easy for people like me to reward myself. How do you reward yourself? I just got imprinted growing up with my father's example. My father's not someone who really spoils himself. My father is very hard on himself, very, very tough on himself. I remember once the food that the rest of us wouldn't eat because we thought it was going bad or it was defective in some way, my father would eat. And I remember once he saying, yeah, garbage can dad. Because the food that the rest of us wanted to just put in the garbage can, my father, because he grew up in the Depression, he would eat it. So my father was not one to spoil himself. My brother too, he's not one to spoil himself. They'd both rather spend their money on helping other people. And so that was kind of the imprinting that I got growing up. And so I just didn't have a comfort and ease with being good to myself, with taking care of myself, with looking after myself, with rewarding myself. And when I did, it was just gross and completely inappropriate and not in my my best interest. So there's a tremendous relief in just admitting you've got a problem, and then just going to a meeting and meeting other people who got the same problem, and then like seeing that there's a way out. I mean, that feels really good, and that you can do it, like that there are concrete steps you can take. That feels good, and that there's God, and that God's interested and will help you with your sex problems or your money problems, and that there's inspiring literature, and there are all these inspiring talks, and there are retreats, and there are seminars, and big relief. Just knowing that you're not alone, and like half the population is prone to addiction. We're people of either anxious attachment or avoidant attachment, meaning that growing up we didn't get our needs met, generally speaking, so we decide, oh, it's just much better to be a person who doesn't have needs. And so we would just deprecate the importance of human attachment. And so we become avoidant, or we try to deprecate the need for human attachment, but we have to face it, if we're honest, we're just completely obsessed about human attachment. So that's anxious attachment style. That's what I got. I think I'm much more anxious attachment style than avoidant. So either way, we don't really know how to take care of ourselves. I think I was halfway through my second year of Alexander Technique teacher training, and after a tough week, I said either out loud or just to myself, I'm just going to go home and be gentle with myself. And it's the first time I'd spoken that way in my whole life. I've always been really hard on myself and harsh to myself and a lousy friend to myself, and often to other people, just kind of vindictive to myself, vindictive to others. And finally, through studying the Alexander Technique, I learned to start to let go of my own desire to just continually punish myself. It's like, whose voice is this in my head? It's always telling me to punish myself. And of course, that was a voice that I was imprinted with in childhood. And because I wasn't able to feel safe and get my needs met in childhood, I would try to deprecate my needs. Well, my needs don't matter. I'm just going to be hard on myself, and that way I'll be more productive. I will achieve greater things, and people will recognize me as being such an amazing person. So one of the gifts of these 12-step programs is just recognizing your right size in the world. Not that you're so awesome or that you're crap, but you're somewhere in between. And accepting that you don't control other people and places and things, and recognizing your own tendencies towards unmanageability, your own tendencies to not be able to control things, and not even be able to control yourself in some areas, and getting clarity on where I tend to lack self-control, and just kind of give up the independent worldview that I, on my own, can just go out and accomplish everything I need to do. I don't need to get any help. And through 12-step programs, you learn to reach out to other people and to bond with other people by sharing your stories with this particular addiction, and then asking for help. Because even though all of us in the 12-step room are all crazy, we're not all crazy in the same ways. We're all crazy in different ways. And so we can help each other. And so, for example, over the past few weeks, I've just been calling people in the program asking, how do you connect to God? And I need something more than religion in that respect. I've spent so much of my life immersed in religion that I've kind of developed an inoculation to some degree to the teachings of religion about how to connect to God. So I need something concrete. I need something visceral. I need something experiential. And the best advice I got on that, how to connect to God, was that it's a choice. So when you transition from one activity to another, you can invite God in. And that is, I think, a classic Jewish teaching, by the way. Where is God? He's wherever you invite him in. So 12-step will match with your religion, whatever it is. 12-step is not a religion. It's a para-spiritual practice. So it's a spiritual practice that can fit well with your religion. Now, if you've got an addict's mind, you can think of all the reasons why 12-step interferes with your religion, is incompatible with your religion. That's just self-destructive behavior, because you're looking to mismatch. You're looking for problems. You're looking to create friction. You're looking to make your life more difficult. So for my first year in 12-step, I was thinking, oh, this is a substitute religion. It's instead of davening Mincha Mariv, I'm at this 12-step meeting, and I'm sundancing right now, bro. So for a year, I was just thinking about that, all the ways that this time I'm putting into my 12-step program. I could be going to a Torah class, or I could be davening, or I could be doing some volunteer, and could be having adventures in Daf Yomi, and I could be taking classes in Hasidic thought, and I was just like talking to myself. This is all the ways that religion. I could be practicing my religion. Instead, I'm here like sharing my story and listening to other people's story. Like, wouldn't a real man just use his religion to overcome his sex addiction? Well, guess what? The religion didn't help me with my sex addiction. Religion didn't even help me with my porn addiction. It didn't help me with my debting, with my chronic under-earning, with my tendency to create codependent relationships, with just my addiction to hiding. So, when I get around these people who make over $1 million a year, and who go on these exotic vacations, and who have no problem rewarding themselves when they meet their goals, what I always notice is they have a great deal of comfort with who they are. Just a great deal of comfort with their own foibles. They have usually a pretty accurate sense of their own strengths and weaknesses, and they're just willing to enjoy life. And they see nothing wrong with being good to themselves, with being a good friend to themselves. And I just find that so inspiring, but it also just creates this enormous kind of pain in my breast when I just kind of see the difference between the healthy way that they're living and my own natural tendencies to be vicious and austere with myself, and to disregard my own needs, and to treat myself with disrespect. Wow, wouldn't it be funny if one of these cars just rammed into the back of me right now? That would be exciting. Maybe I create a viral video. Right? Need some viral videos. So really helped me to just, okay, I give up doing things my way. I'm going to be willing to take instructions from a 12-step program, from a sponsor. I'm going to give up my illusion that I have control over myself. And there are certain things where temptation is just too keen, and I can't count on myself to make sane decisions. Like in the areas of sex and love, I can't rely on my own intuition to make good decisions. Just does not work out that way. In the realm of earning, can't just rely on myself to make good decisions. Hey, I just found out about this new 12-step program. It's called Financial Under-Earners Anonymous. It has a whole different list of symptoms. Still got the 12 symptoms, but they're very different from the 12 symptoms of Under-Earners Anonymous. They've got different tools. It's a whole different program. So there's Financial Under-Earners Anonymous, there's Under-Earners Anonymous, there's Debtors Anonymous. So those are 3 great 12-step money programs. And man, thank God for the 12-step world.